Hi everyone, welcome back to Brookdale Farm. Well, one of the channels that I really enjoy watching on YouTube is Geoffrey from Old American Iron. He has an amazing collection of trucks and earth moving machinery dating back to the 1920s. None of these are restored, but they all run. Like a lot of us, he doesn't necessarily have time to go and start them up as often as he'd like to. And he had a row of them on display along the front of his property that the weeds had grown up through and around. And recently he's been doing a series where he gets them all going and moves them out of the weeds so that he can mow. I'll put a link to Old American Iron channel down in the description for anybody who wants to go across and have a look at his channel. But this series he's been doing really did make me think that it's well and truly time that I came out and got the Blitz running again. Now, I have shown the old Chev Blitz C15 truck on this channel before. It was one of my early videos. I'll put where we got it running. It was not long after I'd got it. I'll put a link to that video down in the description too, in case you want to go back and have a look at that. But it hasn't been running for a little while. It had quite a lot of issues with it, and I started doing a fair amount of work to it. But I never got back to finish it all. So there was no functional wiring in it at all. So one of the jobs, if we come into the cab here, was to put a coil on it and ignition switch and get all of that sort of stuff wired up. The fuel pump didn't work, so I put a new fuel pump on it. And these are actually the same as a Holden red motor. So I thought I was just going to get parts out of the Holden one, and I found that they were actually the same. Also, the radiator leaked, and I thought it was the bottom hose, but I put a new hose on it, and I could not get it to seal up round here. And this was really rough and corroded, so I thought I tried to clean this up, and it still wouldn't seal. And eventually, when I was fiddling around, I discovered that this bit had busted off the bottom. This is a common problem with these, and it's got big cracks all through it. And it's leaking down there as well. So the truck now has an old Hilux radiator in it for the time being. That will at least keep it cool and get it running for us. So there shouldn't be too much to do to get it to start. I'm going to fill the radiator up with water, and there's a couple of other things that we're going to do to it as well. I've got a brand new set of spark plugs for it ready to go in, so I'm just going to quickly change the spark plugs. We'll hook up some fuel to it and a battery, and check oil obviously, and we'll come back when that's done and see if it's going to go. Okay, so while we've got the spark plugs out to change them, because this hasn't been running for a while, we're just going to put a little bit of oil in to give us a little bit of upper cylinder lubrication when we first start cranking it over, because it will be quite dry in there. The other thing is, we've taken the distributor cap off. We're just going to lift the rotor arm off and put a little bit of oil under the rotor arm here. There are weights in the distributor, and this is actually sprung loaded on an inner shaft and needs to turn freely. And these often wear quite badly because people forget to oil them. So we're just going to put a little bit of oil in there. And there's a grease cup down here that we're going to clean out and refill as well. I think that greases the main, that greases the main shaft up through the centre of the distributor. So that is quite important to do too. One of the other things that, one of the other issues with this truck is, if we come up here, We have a look under the bonnet. There's asbestos heat shielding on either side here, which keeps the driver and passengers' feet cool. This is not in good condition and it needs to be removed. In the meantime, to make it safe, because it was starting to break down, this has had a couple of coats of PVA wood glue mixed with water, painted over it very carefully, and then brush and whatever's left gets thrown away. That just gets used once. And that stabilizes the asbestos so that it is not going to lose any more fibers at the moment. We do still need to get this dealt with properly though. One of the things about these trucks is the cab was fairly cramped and fairly hot in summer. There is a cover that goes over the engine across here, which means you've got even less knee room. So you sit pretty close to on the floor. Anyway, we've got water in it, we've got fuel in it, we've put our new spark plugs in. We've got a battery in it. Now these are originally a 6-volt system. The starter motors do handle 12 volts, they just spin it a bit faster. So I've only got a 12-volt battery for today. So we'll see if it's going to go. Turn the ignition on. These don't, well, a lot of these don't have keys, but if you take this piece out, there is actually a keyhole in behind it. So ignition switch. On these ones, the accelerator is in the middle with the clutch and brakes on either side. Now gear lever is right back round here, so you've sort of got to half dislocate your shoulder to reach that. We are just using a boat fuel tank here, which is connected up to the fuel pump down next to my left foot. We've got a choke up here, and to start these there's actually a lever down here that we pull to crank them over. So let's see if it's going to go. We'll pull the choke out, give it a couple of pumps on the throttle and see what happens. Sounds like we don't have fuel up to the carburetor yet. I'm just going to fiddle around and make sure we've got petrol right up there before we give it another go. Okay, well, these boat fuel lines are very poor quality. This hose goes hard after a really short time, and I see that we've got a hole in basically the line's cracked in half down there. So I'm going to have to take that apart and fix that before we go any further. Well, no wonder we weren't getting fuel through. It's pretty much broken in half there, and it's got big cracks in it up there. Pretty disappointing really. This hose went hard and brittle after the first use. So I'll go and find some proper fuel line to go on here. Okay, let's try this again. Well, these big 6-cylinder Chevy engines always sound pretty good when they're running. This one, once it's running, takes a little bit to start it sometimes, but once it's running it purrs away really nicely. Let's take it for a little bit of a drive and see how we go with that. Well, it's nice to have the old Blitz running and mobile again. That Hilux radiator in it is a bit small, so we're going to have to sort out something with the original radiator. That won't be too hard to do. But it does run quite well. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!